So we're in here this morning. We're going to talk about ALICE, which is a proactive response to these active killers that have been plaguing our society. So today we're going to talk about violent intruders. We're going to have a frank discussion about your safety. So that's your trigger warning. If you need to step outside, we start talking about things that are difficult for you, make sure and step outside or get in touch with a counseling center afterwards. We're going to talk about the history of violent intruders and active killers. We'll primarily be talking about active shooters today, but I want to make sure that we understand that active killer is also something here. I don't want to just have us believing that a threat can come from a firearm. It's also somebody come in with an edged weapon like a knife, something of that nature, okay? We're going to talk about lockdown, what we know it as, what the K-12 schools are teaching right now. What's wrong with it, what the good parts of it are. We're going to talk about law enforcement's response, what it has been, how it's changed over the course of history. Faculty, staff, student response, what it has been, and what we need to change about it. And then ALICE, which is alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. And we'll talk about all those individually in a little bit. So real quick, why do we do these different drills? Why do we do fire drill, earthquake, tornado, tsunami? Why do we do them?
Practice.
Right. In the event it happens, we know what to do. Anybody do tsunami drills growing up? I did. Nobody else live by the coast? Okay. I have never done a tornado drill in my life, just so you know. Fire drills. These are just some of the ways we protect ourselves from fire. So we got the exit signs, maximum occupancy. So you can look around the room. You can see we got 3 exit signs in this one room. We've got the horn strobe here, another horn strobe over here. We got the fire sprinkler heads up here. Does anybody know what this is? Yeah, this mess of pipes and everything controls these. And this looks really complicated, and it is. But that's really what they look like. All of our major buildings that have the fire sprinkler systems have something in a basement control room that looks very similar to that. Also fire extinguishers, the carpet, the sheetrock, all this that we use to build our buildings has to meet a certain fire code, okay, to protect ourselves, our kids from fire. Does anybody know the last time there was a fire-related death in the United States in a K-12 school? Think it was the last 5 or 10 years? Don't raise your hand. 1959 was the last K-12 death in the United States from a fire, okay? Let's look at shootings. Marysville, Washington in 14, 5 killed. Santa Monica College in 13. We remember Sandy Hook in 2012. Oikos University in 2012. Northern Illinois University in 08. Of course, Virginia Tech in 07. We remember that, 33. Red Lake Senior High in 05. And then just in Oregon, since 98, and these here I took where there was 5 or more deaths, okay? And then I took all the ones here in Oregon since 98, 2 dead, 23 injured in Springfield, 98. Roseburg in 06, there was 1. Troutdale in 14, 1 dead, 2 injured. Portland in 14, and Bend in 14, okay? And then of course we remember UCC down in Roseburg was a little over a month ago. I haven't added that onto the PowerPoint yet, not because I'm lazy and don't want to put it on there, but because there hasn't been any real official documentation and investigation information come out yet. And so all the information I would be working off of is the media, and they're in the entertainment business, not the information business, so I want to be kind of careful about that. If you have specific questions about that, certainly bring them up. We can talk about it, but I want to be real careful as far as what we talk about because we don't really know what happened yet. So having this in mind, so 1959 was the last death from a fire, and then look at what's going on with the shooting. So we're not protecting ourselves from what's really killing us and our kids. So change gears a little bit. What is lockdown, what we know it as? Who did lockdown in their high schools? Okay, what did you do in your lockdown?
Over over the intercom, it would do a certain code, and you would know that that was the lockdown signal, and you'd go back to the back of the classroom and they'd shut the lights off and lock the door. You'd have to like kind of get down low to the ground and kind of hide.
What was your code?
Mr. Green, please come to the library.
Mr. Green, please come to the library. Okay, that's interesting. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So this is what most of your schools are doing, is locking the door, turning off the lights, closing the blinds, getting against the walls away from the doors and windows. Does anybody know where that comes from? Where lockdown originated? And it's not from the prisons. Anybody have an idea?
Maybe from bombs?
No, not necessarily, no. In the 1970s, in Los Angeles, there started to be a lot of gang warfare, and the gangs start shooting at each other outside the schools. So in response to that situation, the schools developed a plan of lockdown, which is where let's secure the outside of the building, let's get the kids away from the doors and windows to protect them from stray gunfire, and wait for the police to show up and handle the situation outside. Makes perfect sense, right? Okay. Well, the firearms started coming into the schools, and we didn't change what we were doing, but LA started this lockdown program. It spread across the nation. And so ever since the 1970s, this has been our response to gunplay around the schools. But does that make sense when the firearms are in the school and people are shooting inside the school? Okay, we'll talk about it. Lockdown's a great starting point, and it should be an option, but it can't be our only option. Now let's find out why. The average emergency goes on for 3 to 5 minutes before someone calls 911. Anybody want to take a guess at why that is? Yeah, you get a little bit of the bystander effect, but a lot of it, panic. So if you're, when you get that adrenaline, you're in a life-threatening situation, your heart rate goes up over 145 beats a minute, and I'm sure a lot of you guys understand this better than I do. Your heart rate goes up over 145 beats a minute, and your frontal lobe shuts down. So you start thinking with your instincts. Just that animal portion of your brain is what you're functioning off of. Your survival instincts, your fight, flight, or freeze. Okay? Does the animal part of your brain know to call 911 to get the police there? Because back in the caveman days when that fight, flight, or freeze worked perfectly, we didn't have 911 or the police. So your brain doesn't know to call 911 because you're only thinking with the animal portion of it. So that first 3 to 5 minutes goes on before somebody's frontal lobe starts working enough typically to call 911. Then you're on the phone with a dispatch and call takers for another 2 minutes. Okay? And then the response time, so that's the police officers driving from the time they get the information on the radio until they arrive. And this isn't they're engaging people, this is they're pulling up at the building and they reach over and they hit the button on their computer that says I'm arriving on scene. Okay, that's a total of 8 to 12 minutes that it's going to take the police to get to an emergency on average. Let's look at if that's going to be enough time. So Columbine in 99, 11:19 a.m., 2 gunmen enter. At 12:08, they commit suicide. That was a total of 49 minutes with 13 victims dead and 24 injured. They went back and they investigated this, looked into it, watched the video footage, did their investigation, talked to everybody, found out that they were actively shooting at people for 8.5 minutes. That's one person shot every 13 seconds. How many times does 13 seconds go into 8 to 12 minutes? It's rhetorical. You don't have to answer. I haven't actually done that math. I ask it every time, but I'm not sure either. Okay. There was a school resource officer that was on the campus at 11:19 when this started happening. It took him 7.5 minutes to get there. So look at Virginia Tech. April 16, 2007, 9:42 a.m. Gunman enters Norris Hall. Total 8 minutes he was shooting with 30 victims dead and 17 wounded. That's one person shot every 10.2 seconds. Again, rhetorical, how many times does 10.2 go into 8 to 12 minutes? Okay? If you know about what happened at Virginia Tech, this guy, he shot and killed 2 people in a dormitory. Okay? The police, the Virginia Tech Police Department was on scene at that, so they were doing a double homicide investigation. They'd already deployed their SWAT team. The University of Virginia Tech actually has their SWAT team has, their police department has a SWAT team. So their SWAT team was already deployed. They were at the building helping with this investigation when he started to shoot in Norris Hall. The SWAT team was already deployed. It took them 8 minutes to get there. They were 800 yards away. Okay? So we know that if this happens, we've got about 8 minutes before a police officer is going to show up to help us. So let's look at what some lessons learned here in Columbine. The faculty, staff, and students, their response was lock down and wait for the police. Okay? They did what everybody's trained to do. The police response at that time was to set up a perimeter, establish communications with the shooter, and wait for the tactical team, the SWAT guys, to show up. Okay? After Columbine, law enforcement looked at that. We looked at our response and realized that we had a perimeter set up and we still had kids dying inside. We had police officers outside with a perimeter set up and there was kids being killed inside the building. So law enforcement across the nation knew that that was unacceptable and we cannot try to establish communications anymore. We can't set up a perimeter. So across the nation, what the new training and what police are doing, depending on the size of your agency, the first 3 to 5 guys that show up, or like I'm from the coast in a small town where you're the only cop in 30 miles, so you are the entry team. But typically it's the first 3 officers that show up. You are the entry team. The first 3 guys that get there, they go towards the sound of the gunshots. We don't wait for the SWAT team anymore. Okay? That's what they did at Virginia Tech. The police advanced to the threat and neutralized it. They didn't try to set up communications. They didn't try to do a perimeter. They went towards the gunshots as absolutely fast as they can. The faculty, staff, and students did the same thing in Virginia Tech that they did in Columbine. They locked down and waited for the police. What happened? More people died in Virginia Tech than in Columbine. The police are getting there as absolutely fast as they can. They cannot get there any faster. They cannot do any more than they are already doing. So to affect this change, we can't do anything here. It has to be over here. So what do? There's not a one-size-fits-all plan, okay? And we don't want there to be. We don't want everybody to be told, lock down, hide under the table, okay? We want to just give everybody options. Alice, it's alert, lockdown, inform, counter, and evacuate. Alert is going to be the way that you learn about it, and I'll go over these all in detail here in a minute. Lockdown is going to be just that, securing in place, okay, if you're unable to evacuate. Information, that's going to be information sharing back and forth. It's very important that everybody's sharing information. You guys are sharing information with each other, I'm sharing information with you, you're sharing information with me. Countering, that's going to be a last resort. That's going to be fighting back if you absolutely have to. And then evacuation is your first option of running, okay? This is not a chronological process. They just didn't like the sound of lice. This is how you learn about it. You could hear gunshots, hear screaming, see people running. You could see the shooter. You might get a text message from a friend. Maybe something over social media. It could come over Facebook. If that happens, there's a big Facebook message that goes out about this, I want you guys to call me because I don't have Facebook, so you need to let me know. The WOU alert system. Is everybody, so everybody's automatically opted into the WOU alert, but has everybody went into their portal and changed their options and got their phone number on there? I recommend you do that. You don't have to, but you can select if you want the WOU alert system to text message you or to call you or whatever sequence. You can go in there and look at that. So I recommend you do that. You can also, a recent thing, you can go in, students can go in and add like a parent or something. I've got an additional field where I got my fiance in there. So you can also do that if you like. This is also the way you alert other people. So as I'm running away from the building, I'm yelling at people, there's a gunman in the university center, gunman in the university center, get away, follow me, come this way, okay? We need to alert as many people as quickly as we can to get everybody out of the danger area, okay? Want to dial 911 immediately, but we don't want you to delay evacuation, okay? We talked about your heart rate getting up and your frontal lobe shutting down, and this is kind of a rhetorical question. I don't want to bring up any bad memories, but has anybody ever had to dial 911 when you're scared or frightened or just in a motor vehicle accident or something? I can text message like crazy, but when my life is threatened, trying to dial 911 is extremely difficult. You have to stop and concentrate on what you're doing because your dexterity's gone. Okay, we don't want you to stop and be trying to call 911. Okay, get out of the danger area. This is about you. Get yourself out of the danger area and then call 911. So here's where we're going to talk about codes. Does anybody know what code white is? If you're in a hospital, you're sitting over in Salem Hospital and you hear over the loudspeaker, code white in a third floor hallway. Code white, third floor hallway. Do you have any idea what you're supposed to do? So there's a federal agency that makes recommendations to hospitals. I don't remember the agency's name, but their recommendation for an active shooter in a hospital, the code is code white. And that's the thing. This is just a recommendation. Hospitals don't have to do that. So Corvallis, and there was a guy, he was in a session here a couple of weeks ago, and he came up to me and he said, hey, I worked down in Corvallis last year, and it's code silver there. So you go to a different hospital, it's different. How many people in that hospital are going to know what that code means? I'm not, okay? And even if you know what it means at one hospital, do you know what it's going to mean at the other one? Okay? So we don't want to use codes, because now if you're in that hospital and you hear there's a gunman in the third floor hallway, gunman, third floor hallway, do you know what to do now? At least you're not going to third floor hallway, right? Like, I at least have that much information, okay? So we want to get away from codes. And, you know, I'm not saying codes shouldn't exist at all. You know, lost kid in Walmart or whatever, if they want to use a code for that, that's fine. But when it comes down to everybody's life and there's a gunman, we don't want codes. We want plain language. We want somebody on a loudspeaker saying there's a gunman, he's wearing a gray shirt, he's in a Willamette room in the University Center, he's short and kind of bald. Okay? And that way everybody has information to work off of. Lockdown. So this, expanding on this a little bit, we're not just hiding under the tables, okay? Securing in place is kind of a term I like to use. A lot of people say barricading. We want to lock the doors, turn off the lights, hide in the corners. These shooters are notorious for not clearing their corners, which means if there's a doorway here and I walk into that doorway and I don't check around either side of the corners there, that's not clearing your corners. So they're notorious for walking in and just being focused on the middle of the room. So I'm going to be hiding right on either side of the door. Barricading the entry points. So let's talk about barricading real quick, because this is a really interesting room. I don't know if anybody else is uncomfortable in here, but I'm pretty uncomfortable in this room. How can we barricade ourselves in here? So if they have an edged weapon, we can probably pretty effectively barricade, but if they have a firearm, they're easily going to be able to shoot through those doors, break it out, and come through. Okay? So what's our other option?
Evacuate out the back.
Evacuate out the back? Yeah. Okay? And that's tough. You know, that's going to be really hard. Okay? That's going to be scary, because you don't know if they're going to go back around that way and you're doing that chasing around the kitchen thing like in little kids, right? So it's tough, okay? But what I would do, because I know there's bathrooms over there, I would immediately evacuate out of there and go into the bathroom, okay? And try and barricade myself in there. Or wait until I could maybe know that the shooter was in here. But just for good measure, how can we barricade these doors? How can we prevent somebody from coming through? Because we have a lot of doors like this on campus. How do we do that? So we can tie these together, right? So a lot of doors on campus have these bars right here in the middle. You can, with both the doors closed, you can run a belt or maybe a sweatshirt, or take your shoelaces or anything and run through there and tie that. Okay. Also, the closures that have the little A-frame at the top of them, you can reach up there and tie an extension cord or anything around it to prevent that door from opening. Also running something around here in the other door. Okay. What about just a regular knob if we can't lock it, or even if we can lock it? So I would, if I had a belt, take the belt off, tie it around the handle, and then stand off to the side. That way if they're shooting through the door, I'm in relative safety, but able to hold the door closed at the same time. Okay? Preparing to evacuate. So, you know what, in this room, I would probably not be looking a whole lot at barricading. My option is either going to be to evacuate or to counter. There's not a lot of good option here as far as barricading and preventing somebody entering into this room. It's probably going to be evacuating out the back. But if you're in a different room where you can relative safety and you can barricade while you're trying to figure out another way to get out of the room, while you're trying to break the windows out, you can have some people throwing desk tables and chairs in front of the doors, tying the doors closed while you're trying to break the windows out. Because these windows, it's not like you see on TV where you wrap a t-shirt around your hand and punch through it. That doesn't work. Okay? Preparing to counter, gathering weapons of opportunity. What's a weapon of opportunity?
Chair.
A chair? Absolutely. Pair of scissors? Okay. Would this be a weapon of opportunity? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So does anybody do any shooting, like sports shooting? Yeah? Okay, what does it take to shoot accurately? What do you have to do? Concentration, right? Which is, so you've got to have your target acquisition and sight alignment. Your breathing comes into play, right? Your grip, your stance, trigger control. Okay, all those things come into play. What's it take to send a text message? A lot less than that, right? Imagine he's sending a text message and I throw this in his face. Is it going to stop him from doing what he's doing? For a second it will, okay? So, now am I saying this is my best opportunity? No. You know, I'm going to pick that chair up if it's next to me, but if this is all I have, it's what I'm going to throw. Okay? And it's going to cause a little bit of a disruption. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So information. It's communicating the killer's direction in real time. This is basically an expansion of alert. So the information portion of this needs to be all directions. Okay? We want law enforcement sharing information with the public. We want the public sharing information with law enforcement. We want administration involved in that, sharing information both ways. Okay? One of the things that I envision, and heaven forbid this actually ever happen here, but if it does, and we're getting phone calls and people are saying, hey, the shooter's on the second floor of HSS, hopefully we have enough people here that I've got somebody parked up in the middle of Monmouth Avenue with the public address system on the patrol car calling out saying, we're getting reports the gunman's on the second floor of HSS. He's on the second floor of HSS, and we're announcing that over a loudspeaker across campus. Okay? So that way, not only is it going to provide you guys information that you can use to protect yourselves, but it's also going to throw them off. Because imagine me, if I'm the shooter and I'm outside here and I hear over the intercom or a loudspeaker that the shooter's in a gray shirt, bald, short guy, and he's outside the Willamette room of the University Center. The gunman's outside the Willamette room of the University Center. Is that going to throw me off a little bit? It is, right? I'm going to know that they know exactly where I'm at. Information should be clear, direct. Don't use code words. We talked about that. Because just like the example here a little bit earlier, if you went to visit her school and it was, what was it, Mr. Green, please come to the library. And be like, oh, okay, Mr. Green needs to go to the library. You have no idea as a visitor that your life is in immediate danger, right? Okay? So countering, this is your last resort. Please understand that Western does not require you to do anything. Okay? I'm not telling you that you have to fight back, but I am telling you that you can if you want to. Okay? We want to empower you to make a decision about your safety. Use noise, distance, movement, and distraction to disorient the intruder. The media has made these guys out to be tactical masters, and the fact is they're 16, 17, 18-year-old kids that are not tactical masters. They don't even clear their corners. Okay? It's not that hard to take them on if you have a little bit of confidence and know-how. We're going to watch this video clip real quick.
Over at school, that's the question on America's mind this week, even in Washington, D.C., following a string of recent school shootings across the country.
And our next guest says he has the answer. When confronted by a gunman, don't duck and hide, fight back. Joining us from a classroom in Burleson, Texas is incident response trainer Greg Crane. Good to see you, Greg. Now, I understand that your wife was a principal of a local school there in Burleson, Texas, and you asked her what she would do if a gunman intruded her school. She didn't know, and you said, let's come up with a program to deal with this, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the district here in Burleson does have an excellent emergency management procedures in place. We have outer security, we have inner security, we have SROs on campus, we wear IDs, but all these are just security measures. That they're not a foolproof standard that a bad guy cannot get in the building. So when I asked my wife, what would she do, she really didn't have an answer. So we felt the need to create a program that would address that hopefully small window of time when we have violence in the schools and before law enforcement can put a stop to it.
Right, and I understand that all 600 teachers in that school district have been trained in your method, but we've got a vast viewing audience right now. If you, Greg, could give us a little sample what teachers should do, a little demonstration, we'd really appreciate it.
All right, we can do that. Robin, you ready, sir?
Yep, no problem. Okay, that's attack control. All right, you better start getting ready to get to your next class. Put your books away. Get that sorted out. Get everything done. All right? That's great. Thanks very much. Everybody sit down now. No! Shine! Control! Okay. Evaluation. Anybody hurt? Just... It'll be okay. Go on, use the shot. Okay,
Index,
shot.
index.
Index. Safety, guys.
All right, that's really cool. Now, Greg, that worked very, very well, but I know that the kids were ready to, as soon as the person showed the gun, to throw the books at them. But in a regular school environment where kids are just may or may not be paying attention to what's happening in the front of the class, do you really think the kids are going to be so fast to throw their books at somebody who just walked in the room?
Well, that's where mental preparation comes in, Steve. We want to have, you have to be prepared.
Yeah.
You have to have a plan,
Yeah.
and then you have to rehearse that plan.
Right.
And if the schools have done that, they'll be ready.
So you say
We've seen that
use books, use monitors, use a computer, scissors, whatever you have. Toss it at the gun.
Brian, anything that we can have to create a distraction and give us time to put our plan in place. We've seen that hiding under desks, that's not a recipe for success. We've seen that being allowed to be lined up on the blackboard is not a recipe for success. We want to give our students a chance to survive.
You know what, Greg, I think this is a great program because, as you said, this is all about practicing this and putting it into motion when, in fact, this rare incident might happen. I commend you on this program, and hopefully other school districts across the country will do it as well. Good to see you this morning. Thanks a lot, Greg.
And by the way, his website is responseoptions.com if you'd like more information.
So is Greg Crane. He's the original kind of creator of Alice. He started the program back in 2001. So we're going to talk a little bit about reactionary time here. Has anybody heard of OODA loop? It's basically your decision-making process. Okay, this is what your mind has to go through, this loop, to make a decision. Okay? So I'm driving down the road in my vehicle, and a deer steps out in front of me. Okay? In order for me to take my foot off the throttle and apply it onto the brake, I have to go through an OODA loop. Okay? And this is not only reactionary, this is a simple thing. I'm standing there and I want to reach over and pick my laser pointer up off the table. Okay? You do this thousands of times a day. So I'm driving down the road, Bambi steps out in front of me. First I have to observe that happened. I have to see that Bambi's in the road. And then I have to orient to it. And this doesn't mean orienting my body, like moving my foot to cover the brake. This means orienting my mind. So now my mind has to, okay, I'm in a motor vehicle, I'm driving, and the deer is in my lane of travel, and I have to do something. Okay, that's what orient is. And then decide. And decide is just that. It's what am I going to do now? Okay, am I gonna swerve? Am I gonna try and apply the brakes? Am I gonna do both? And then the action process, which is actually doing that. So observe, orient, decide, and act. Okay, the absolute fastest that you can do that process is 0.52 seconds. Okay. That record, that 0.52 seconds, is not something you can train yourself to be better at. Okay, that 0.52 second record was not set by somebody in the British SAS or somebody in a Green Beret or some Navy SEAL on Team 6. Okay, that was set by a 50-year-old retired stripper. Okay, so it doesn't matter how much training you have. Okay, the fastest you can do that is 0.52 seconds. And in all honesty, when you're in a motor vehicle, if I am driving down the road and I am expecting to have to stop, I'm expecting that deer to step out there, to take my foot off the throttle and put it on the brake takes just over 0.74 seconds, okay, on average. If I'm driving down that same road not expecting to have to stop, it's 1.56 seconds on average. Okay, so if anybody tells you 1 second following distance is enough, they're wrong, unless you're expecting to have to stop. Okay, so let's. I want to do a little example of this. Can I get a volunteer real quick?
You want?
Over here.
Oh,
okay, so face me.
okay.
Okay, so get your little finger gun out. Okay, and put it up here. Okay, how often do we see this in the movies? Right? All the time. And I'm going to do absolutely anything she says because she's got a gun in my face, right? But I'm not, because I know her reaction is not as fast as my action. And so as soon as you see me move, I want you to say bang, okay?
Bang! Oh, man.
Okay, so now for demonstrate, where was your hand at when you said bang? It was about there, and my head was down here when she said bang, okay? So I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay. So get your finger out there. Okay. Let's go ahead and cock it. Kind of help you. Help give you a little bit of advantage. Okay. Here, put it in the middle of my head. Okay. Ready?
Sorry.
Oh, you weren't ready for me to defend my. She wasn't ready for me to defend myself. I'm sorry. Right. She never even said bang. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah. Bang.
Okay. Where was your hand at? Up there. Okay, please understand, I'm not showing you this so that you can learn to disarm people. Okay, that's not the idea. The whole point of this process and showing you this is reaction. And since we're talking about firearms and active killers, that's kind of a good example. But you can do this, and I'm going to win this every single time. This isn't because I'm some judo master, I have a whole lot of training. All this is that I know that I can act faster than she can react. So why am I going to beat her every single time?
Because I'm not expecting.
She's not expecting, but she was. The second and third time, she knew what I was going to do. I told her I was going to do the exact same thing.
She already made a decision. You don't have to think about it. So she has to go through that process.
Exactly. Because I observed, gun in my face, oriented to it, decided what to do, and then acted on it. I'm at action, and she has to start at observe, orient, decide, and act. Okay? So I'm going to win that every single time. Okay? And we can swap, and she's going to beat me every single time. Thanks, Karen. Appreciate it. Okay? So, and the idea with that is that you get off line of it, and you wrap the firearm at the same time you deliver a hand strike to a palm heel strike to the face. And once you deliver that palm heel strike, because they were at observe, they were moving towards orient because you were moving, you hit them in the face and they reset to observe. Okay? And then I grab them around the back of the neck and I knee them in the stomach. So they were just like, oh man, I got hit in the face. They were trying to orient to that, and then they get kneed in the stomach and they go back to observe. And then they're trying to orient and decide what to do. And then I throw them on the ground and they go back to observe. So as long as you can beat that, win that OODA loop process, you're going to win every time. Okay, it's an OODA loop race and you just win it every time. So police miss 80% of their shots during dynamic events. Just a little fact for you. And it's because of the stress, fine motor skills degrading after 145 beats a minute, frontal lobe shutting down. Only 10% of gunshot wounds are lethal. Okay? So the way this was put to me, if you realize you've been shot, you're going to survive it. Okay? So if you're in one of these situations and you get shot, with our medical technology today, they're going to be able to save you. So just because you get shot doesn't mean it's over. Keep fighting. Okay? Was that guy in Roseburg here recently who shot 7 times? Okay, according to the media reports. Okay, I haven't confirmed any of that yet, but 7 times. Okay, and he survived that. Okay, so you can get shot and survive it. Evacuation. This is your first option, or it's my first option. And this is what I encourage you to do if at all possible, is to evacuate. Okay? The natural human response to a threat is fight, flight, or freeze. And all we're doing with this ALICE program is just taking those natural human responses and allowing you to do them. Want to leave the danger area as quickly as you can. Okay? This is running. This is not a fire drill. Okay? We're not lining up behind a kindergarten teacher single file at the door and walking out. Okay? We are absolutely running as fast as we can because our life is threatened. If I'm standing here and you're going to throw a water balloon at me, is it going to be difficult to hit me just standing here, not moving? No, not really at all. Okay? What if I'm moving kind of forward and back? It changes things a little bit, right? It's a little bit harder, but it's still possible. What if I'm moving laterally, and I'm not going to jump around up here like a fool in front of you guys, but if I'm moving laterally in an unpredictable way, is that going to make it a lot harder to hit me with a water balloon? Okay? It's a lot harder to shoot accurately than it is to throw a water balloon. Okay? So if you're moving laterally, it's going to be very hard to hit somebody. So move laterally, run in a zigzag if you're leaving a danger area. Don't use your vehicle if they're in a danger area. Use them as cover and concealment. Inevitably, there's 3 types of people in this world. There's people that automatically fight, people that automatically freeze, and people that automatically flee, okay, and run. I believe that you can train yourself to do one of those, okay, not freeze. Okay, I have people oftentimes say, hey, I'm a freezer. Okay, when something happens, I automatically freeze. Mentally prepare yourself for this. And I'm not saying that you have to get yourself having high blood pressure like me, because every time you go to a restaurant, you have to sit in the back with your back to a wall where you can see the door and size everybody up that comes in. Instead of listening to your family, you're watching and listening to everybody else's conversation, making sure there's not a threat around anywhere. Okay, but just run a little movie through your head real quick. What are you going to do if you see somebody stand at that door with a gun? I'm going to run out there, okay? And just picture that. Man's there with a gun, I'm going to run out that door, okay? And Officer Hansen's back there, so kind of get behind him, right? He's got a ballistic vest on, so use him as a little bit of your cover and concealment, okay? So now, if that happens, that's going to be your response to that, okay? So just think about that, or process. I'm sitting in a classroom, and my water bottle's here. So if somebody opens the door and there's a threat, and I see that threat, I'm going to grab my water bottle and throw it at them. Okay, and you will do that. Okay, and it doesn't take long to do that. That's going to take half a second to think about that. Oh, there's my water bottle I can throw. Okay, and you're going to be able to do that. So, in any moment of decision, the best thing to do is the right thing. The next best thing to do is the wrong thing, and the worst thing to do is nothing. Roosevelt said that. Now we're going to look at the Columbine Library. So, in essence, what happened in Columbine is we had 2 gunmen come in and start shooting people in the hallway up here. Okay? A lot of the people, including Patty Nielsen, a staff member, ran in through this door, down into the library, and hid under the desks, tables, and chairs. Eventually, after shooting people out here, the 2 gunmen make their way in, and you can see the green and yellow arrows is them tracking around the library. And they, in essence, just make circles in the library and shoot and kill most of the people inside the library. Okay? What are some other options here? Instead of hiding in the tail, they knew the gunmen were out here, so let's look This doorway leads to a hallway. This goes directly outside. Okay, so keep this in mind. Keep in mind, everybody runs from here where they know the gunmen are into here and hide under the tables and chairs. Keep that in mind. We're going to listen to a 911 call from Patty Nielsen.
Jefferson County 911.
Yes, I am a teacher at Columbine High School. There is a student here with a gun. He has shot out a window. I believe one shot. I've been
Columbine High School.
I don't know what's in my shoulder. If it was just a last beat through it.
Okay, has anybody been injured, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And the school is in a panic. And I'm in the library. I've got students down under the table, kids. Heads under the table. Kids are screaming. Some of the teachers are, trying to take control. We need police here.
Okay, we're getting them there.
Police here.
Who is the student, ma'am?
I do not know who the student is.
Okay.
I saw a student outside. I was in hall duty. Oh, dear God. Okay. I was on hall duty. I saw a gun. I said, what's going on out there? And he said, oh, it's probably some video production. It's probably a joke. I said, well, I don't think that's a good idea. And I went walking outside. I think he was there to see what was going on. He turned the gun straight at us and shot. And my God, the window went out. And the kid standing there with me, I think he got hit.
Okay.
Something in my shoulder.
Okay. We've got help on the way, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Stay on the line with me.
Oh, God. Kids, just stay down.
Do we know where he's at?
I'm sorry?
Do we know where he's at?
Okay. I'm in the library. He's upstairs. He's right outside of here.
He's outside?
He's outside of this hall.
Outside of a hall or outside?
In the hall.
Okay.
There are alarms and things going off now. Smoke. My God, smoke is like coming into this room.
Okay.
I've got the kids under the table here. I don't know what's happening in the rest of the building. Most of that smoke in the building. I don't know. I'm sure someone has to be calling 911 to fight.
Yes, we've got a lot of people on. Okay. I just want you to stay in the line with me. We need to know what's going on.
Okay.
Okay?
I am on the floor.
Okay. And you've got the kids
in the
there?
library, and I've got every student in this library on the floor. You better stay on the floor.
Is there any way you can lock the doors?
Smoke is coming in from out there, and I'm a little afraid. The gun is right outside the library door, okay? I don't think I'm going to go out there.
Okay, you're at Columbine High School?
I got 3 children.
Okay, we got it.
Okay? I'm not going to go to the door to shut the door, okay? I've got the kids on the floor. I got all the kids in the library on the floor.
We have paramedics, we have fire, and we have police en route, okay, sir?
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I don't know. I can't believe he's not out of bullets. He just keeps shooting and shooting and shooting.
Okay, yeah, we've got a police officer on scene.
I thought it was...
Okay, just try and keep the kids in the library calm.
Yeah.
Is there any way you can block the door so no one can get in?
I do not...
Okay.
I guess I can try to go, but he's right outside that door. I'm afraid to go to the door.
That's okay.
That's where he is. I'm not afraid to go there. Okay?
That's okay.
Okay, I told the kids to get on the floor. I told them to get under the table. All of the children are on the floor under the table. Yeah, they're all under the tables.
Okay.
And
as long as we can just try and keep...
No one's saying a word.
Okay, as long as we can keep everyone there as calm as we can.
I hear some yelling out there going on right now.
Yeah, we've got alarms going off now as well.
Yeah, there's alarms. This room is filled with smoke.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep everyone low to the floor.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's up. Okay. Everyone stay on the floor. Stay on the floor. Stay under the table.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay, I know, just...
I don't know. I didn't... I said, what is that kid got? He was outside at the time. And I was on call duty. Oh, God. He's trying, he's like, woo, woo, woo.
I know.
The things are being shut off. I do not know who the student was. I don't even think I saw him. He was wearing black. He didn't look very large. Male student. He was out there shooting. It looked like he was climbing out and shooting. And somebody, I said, what is that? I said, what's going on out there? This wiretap gun. It's probably their video productions. You know, they do these videos.
Right.
And the kids, I said, well, that's not, a play gun, a real gun. I was going out there to say no. And I went walking. Oh, my God, that was really close. That just rattled me.
Okay. What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Patty.
Patty?
Yelling everybody get up right now. Please go to the library. Keep saying everybody get up right now.
Okay.
Please don't. I I have him in the library shooting at students with a lady that I have in the library on the phone. Okay, try and keep as many people down as you can.
So Patty Nielsen survived Columbine. She had some glass on her shoulder, shrapnel from a broken window. What did Patty do to protect the students in Columbine? Yeah, kept them quiet, kept them under the tables. Okay, she basically did a lockdown, right? Got them, and you could hear her yelling at people, heads under the tables, stay under the tables. Okay, and she told the call taker that I am on the floor, right? So, did she do the right thing?
Well, with hindsight, it doesn't appear so, because being hunched down, you weren't prepared to run. You were just prepared to lay there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hindsight being 2020? No, I don't think so. Okay, I want to make it very clear that I think Patty is a hero. Okay, why? She did what she was taught. She did exactly what she was trained to do, and I believe she did it flawlessly, and I think that Patty Nielsen is a hero. Okay? But hindsight being 2020, should we have done something else? Yeah, I think we should have. Did anybody catch what the dispatcher called Patty? Sir? I didn't catch that the first time I listened to it. Everybody else catches it and makes me feel kind of dumb. But it, you think that dispatcher's a little amped up too? Yeah, for sure.
For what school?
Yeah.
Repeating the school.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. You think over at Willamette Valley Communications, which is a Salem 911 center, do you think that those dispatchers and call takers have some kind of connection? Somebody over there has some kind of a connection with the university? Yeah, absolutely. Okay. They're going to be amped up. Why didn't a dispatcher ask if Patty could get out? Can you get the kids out of the library? Because she was trained to do the exact same thing that Patty was. Lock down and wait for the police. Okay? They had 4 minutes and 36 seconds to evacuate. Let's go back and look at this. 4 minutes and 36 seconds that those students and Patty, from the time they ran in here and she got on the phone to 911, 4 minutes and 36 seconds they had hiding in here where they knew the two gunmen were out here. They had 4 minutes and 36 seconds. 4.5 minutes to get out of the building, and they didn't do it. Why? Because they were trained not to. Okay? You could hear Patty, and I wasn't in the library. Okay? I wasn't in the library that day. I don't know. But when I listen to that and I hear Patty, get your heads back under the tables, kids. Heads under the tables. She's telling them to get their heads back under the tables. That tells me those kids' instincts were to run. Those kids wanted to get up and run, okay? But their training kept them there. Just like in Sandy Hook, okay? The shooter in Sandy Hook basically went back and forth between two classrooms and the kids in the corner, and he shot the kids. Back and forth between two different classrooms, just continued shooting the kids. The kids didn't leave. Why? Because they were trained not to, okay? My daughter, she's 8 years old. She goes to a local school. When I got back from this training, she was 7, and so I asked her, I said, what kind of drills do you guys do? So, well, we do fire drills, we talk about that. We do earthquake, we talked about that. She said, we do a lockdown drill. And I said, well, what's a lockdown drill? She says, well, that's when we all get in the closet where we put our backpacks. We have to get really close and tight together and stay really quiet. And she says, Dad, it's not any fun because you're crammed in there and you have to stay really quiet and you can't move. Okay. I said, why do you do a lockdown drill? And she says, well, because there's a bad guy the police are trying to catch and he wants to hurt us. Okay? So at 7 years old, my daughter and those second grade kids, they're smart enough to figure out why they're doing a lockdown drill. Okay? We're not going to scare our kids by talking to them about this. They know why they're doing that. Okay? There was a faculty member that came through this. She has an 8-year-old son. A couple of days after she came through the session, she found me and said, hey, I had the same conversation with my son that you had with your daughter. And when I asked him why he does a lockdown drill, he says, because there's a robber that wants to hurt us. Those are not adult words teaching kids. Our kids know about this, and they know it's a threat. Okay? My daughter's not worried about this. Okay, she's not scared. She doesn't have nightmares about it. She's just aware of it. So we talked about this, and I asked her, I said, okay, well, this bad guy, the police are trying to catch, what are you supposed to do if he comes into your classroom? She says, oh, we stay really quiet and don't move. Okay. I said, but what if he opens that closet door that you're in? And she says, Dad, there's no door on the closet. Okay, just stick with me here, okay? What do you do if he stands in front of that closet and he has a weapon? What are you supposed to do? And she says, oh, we stay really quiet and don't move. Are you kidding me? Okay, my daughter would have stayed there and got shot just like the kids in Columbine, just like the kids in Sandy Hook, because they aren't allowing her to run. Okay, because lockdown, the conventional wisdom of throwing people under the desk, tables, and chairs and just trying to hide them until the police get there, okay, my daughter would have stayed there and got shot. So I asked her, I said, okay, forget what you're supposed to do, forget what your teacher tells you to do, what should you do in that situation? That guy steps in front of the closet and he has a weapon. What should you do? And I saw her little wheels turning for a minute. She said, well, I should run. Yeah, you should run. It's 7 years old. My daughter's instincts are smart enough to know what to do. But she would have stayed there and got shot because she was taught to. Okay? Just like they were taught to do in Columbine. The shooter of Virginia Tech, he was seen 2 days beforehand at a gun range. He had silhouette targets laid out on either side, just on the ground. And he was seen with one pistol in each hand, walking along, shooting the targets like this on either side of him. Why did he do that? Practice for what? People on the ground hiding under the tables and chairs. He knew that they would be hiding under the tables and chairs, and all he'd have to do is walk down the rows and shoot them. Okay? Why should people act? NYPD looked at 202 of these active shooter incidents and found out that 46% of them, so almost half, did not end without applied force. Okay? A citizen or a police officer used physical aggression and violence to stop this half of the time. Okay? It's not going to end half of the time until that happens. The majority of these 93 incidents were the citizens, not the police. The other almost half, 40%, the shooter committed suicide or attempted to. Okay? So he was either believed he was about to be challenged, was challenged, and went and tried to commit suicide. Okay? Or he believed that he killed enough people and went to kill himself. Okay? Him or herself. Okay? So we've got pretty much half and half. So it's 9 out of 10 do not end until an act of aggression. I'm not going to count on this 1% attacker fleeing, okay, hiding under the desk hoping he's going to flee, or no applied force, which is like a negotiated surrender. Okay? You can't depend on that. There has to be some kind of an act of aggression to stop this. Let's look at Virginia Tech, what happened there. So if you guys familiar with HSS, you picture the hallway in HSS, and you got classrooms and offices on either side. Okay. In Virginia Tech, room 206, there's 14 people. They stayed down. They did the standard lockdown, hide under the tables and chairs. 10 of them were killed, 2 of them were wounded. In room 211, there was 19 people in there. They did the same thing. Hid under the tables and chairs, waited for the police to show up. 19, 12 were killed, 6 were wounded. In room 207, the gunman came in. There was 13 people in there. He shot and killed 5 of them, and he wounded 6. He left. They barricaded the door. He tried to come back in again and wasn't able to. Okay? Nobody else was killed or wounded after they barricaded. So you can see there, their numbers are already improving. Room 204, out of 19 people, 2 were killed, 3 were wounded. They jumped and barricaded. Okay? They jumped out of the windows and they barricaded the door. The 2 people that were killed were Dr. Lviv Lebrescu and his student aide. And if you want to check out a neat story, he's a Jewish concentration camp survivor from World War II. Okay, there's a really neat story on him. Him and his student aide physically held the door closed with their bodies to give everybody else time to get out. The gunman shot them through the door and killed them. Okay, but you can see These guys were proactive and only 2 people were killed. These guys immediately barricaded in room 205. The 12 people were in there. They immediately barricaded the door so he couldn't get in. Nobody was killed. Nobody was wounded. So you can see the people that are passive and didn't take any real steps except for hiding under tables and chairs, 28 of them are dead. The people that were proactive, only 2. See how your numbers are improving there? If you do a little bit, take a little bit of proactive response. And I am not at all asking anybody in here to be a hero. I am not asking you to do, I'm not asking you to be a Dr. Lviv Lebrasio, okay? I'm just telling you that you can if you want to. You can jump out the window if you want to. You can break that window out. You can kick this in here, there's a door, kick that door in and pull the wires out to wrap around the door, okay? Is anybody going to be mad? Is the university going to be mad at you for doing that? Does anybody know Nathan Sauer? He's the kind of the classroom guy. Do you think he's going to be mad a couple weeks later when he has to come in and fix that? No. I bet you Nathan's going to tell you, I'm really glad you're okay. And he's going to be happy to come over here and fix that. When you're evacuating, keep your empty hands visible. If you have countered and you have disarmed the individual and you don't feel comfortable leaving that firearm there, you want to take it with you, that's fine, but don't carry it out. I'm sure you guys know why. Put it in some kind of a container. Scoop it into some kind of a trash can. There's recycle bins and trash cans readily accessible all over campus. Scoop it into a backpack, whatever, and run out with it. Okay, that way you can provide it to the police. And it's not a threat to them. Don't do anything that can be reasonably perceived as threatening. Don't run at the police. Run away from the danger. The police, what they're going to do, they might point weapons at you. They might make a dynamic entry, which is loud. It might be flashbangs and smoke grenades, and they might break a window out on this side of the room to distract people because they're going to come in from the other direction, or it might be yelling and screaming. Or it might be really quiet. It might just be coming in whispering, moving really slow and methodically. Might yell at you, move past hurt and injured people. They might handcuff you, might ask you questions. They're not going to help you, okay? You need to understand, law enforcement in this situation are not trained to stop and help people. They are trained to move past you, okay? They are trained in this situation to step over hurt and injured people that are asking for their help and move towards the sound of the gunshots. Until they stop the carnage, they are not going to provide any first aid or help people evacuate. Okay, and I'm sure you guys can understand why. They might tell you to go away or evacuate another area. They might tell you to get on the ground, okay? So just be paying attention to what their directions are for you. This isn't something that we're developing and hope that it works. This is now the recommendation, okay? The U.S. Department of Homeland Security in 2008 came up with their 3 outs program. It's called Get Out, Hide Out, Take Out. What do you suppose get out is? Evacuate. Hide out? Barricading, right? Lock down, securing in place. Take out? Countering, fighting back, right? International Association of Chiefs of Police in 2009. They said the same thing that Alice did in 2001. There's not a one-size-fits-all plan. Teachers need to choose to evacuate or lock down, and we have to authorize decisions to be made by the individual teachers. There are schools out there that still have policies in place that if there's an active shooter, the teacher calls the office, tells the office what's going on, and the office calls 911. Okay? What sense does it make if we are in this room and there's an active shooter in the Columbia room, which is on the bottom floor, other side of this building, there's an active shooter in there. Most of your schools, your high schools, your K-12 schools would put this entire building in lockdown. Is that our best option? No. What should we do? What if this was a classroom and he was the teacher for it? What should he do? Get the kids, get out on Church Street and run, right? The International Association of Chiefs of Police also said active resistance is an option. The NYPD, they came up with the same thing. They did their active shooter recommendations and analysis, and they come up with people need to evacuate, hide, or take action, meaning fighting back. Okay? Everybody's coming up with the same information. This is Alabama. They in February 2013, they specifically named Alice in the Run, Hide, Fight program as official state recommendations. Ohio Attorney General and Safety Task Force in 2013. Lockdown does not mean a standalone defense strategy. People need to evacuate, barricade, or counter. So this is more specific for your K-12 schools, but I want to talk about it because a lot of us in here have kids. In 2013, the U.S. Department of Education said this has to be the end of lockdown as the only response to these incidents. Okay, we can't just lock down anymore. There's a lot of schools that are still doing this, and I believe the hesitation is that they feel like these programs like Alice, Run, Hide, Fight, or Get Out, Hide Out, Take Out, that they believe that all we're doing is telling you that we want the kids to attack the shooter. Okay, that's absolutely not it. I have not told my daughter at all to fight back. She's 8 years old. Unfortunately, she's got my genes, so she's kind of scrawny and small, okay? So her fighting back at 8 years old is not an option. But she is small, and you get her moving fast, and it's terrible to say, but she's a little target and can be hard to hit if she's moving, okay? So we need to get the K-12 schools on board with this and understand that we're not telling everybody to fight back. I don't think countering really comes into play until about 7th or 8th grade. I think that's about where we should start incorporating that, okay, and giving that option to the kids that they can fight back. I think for the other schools, it needs to be barricading or evacuating. I think a lot of another problem, the K-12 schools, they concern about liability. What are we going to do if I just tell all the kids to run? Okay, it's a concern, right? Talking to one of the sergeants here from the police department, him and I had this conversation. He said it pretty well. He said, I don't care how many police officers and how many man hours of time we spend looking for kids in the neighborhoods. I don't care. I will happily search the neighborhood for kids. I don't want to find them in the classroom. But the K-12 schools are worried about that curb-to-curb liability, and if the kids take off running, what's our liability? Well, what's your liability if my daughter isn't able to evacuate, she stays in that closet because you told her to, she gets shot and killed, and you were going against the U.S. Department of Education's recommendations? What's your liability then? People also want to know, what if there's more than one shooter? I could run into them when I'm evacuating. It's a possibility, okay? Understand, 1% of the time, these shooters actually have an accomplice, but it is a possibility, okay? If this room was on fire, would I stay in here for fear that I'm going to run into the hallway and there's going to be more fire? Okay? I can only deal with the threat that I know exists at the time. Okay? How to account for those who left? That's more of a K-12 problem. I kind of just talked about that a little bit. I'd rather be looking for kids, looking for other people, calling people, than I would counting bodies and finding body bags. Small children are capable. I've been talking to you about my daughter, and at 7 years old, she was able to grasp this. Okay? This was her instincts. We've had this full conversation. We've talked about, what if somebody's shooting at you, what are you going to do? My daughter has not one time come home crying or asking questions about it. She doesn't have nightmares about it. Okay? This isn't something that scared her. It was a matter-of-fact conversation that we had that my daughter already knew this problem existed. She already knew that this was a possibility. She watched the news. She listens to the radio when we're driving down the road and the news is on and it pops up that, oh, there's a mass shooting in Roseburg today at the community college. Okay? They hear that. They know it's a possibility already. Okay? So all I did was give her a little bit of information to help her out. In Sandy Hook, I told you that the shooter basically went back and forth between two classrooms. At one point when he was in there, he was shooting the kids in the corner and he ran out of ammunition. A little 6-year-old kid in there that knows firearms, because his parents had taught him about firearms, he knew that gun was unloaded and it couldn't fire. And he yelled, run. And he stood up and he ran out, and 4 little guys followed him. Okay? And you guys might have heard the little blurb on the news About 2.5 hours later, they find the 5 kids out in the neighborhood, sitting on the curb. Did anybody hear about that? Those little kids, okay? They realized that firearm was unloaded, couldn't fire, and they ran right past the shooter, okay? With OODA loop and what was going on, do you think that shooter even knew they ran past him? I'd be willing to bet not, okay? He certainly didn't try to stop him, okay? He's concentrating on what he's doing, and they ran right past him. So small children are capable, and they're smart enough to get it. And that little 6-year-old boy went against what he was taught to do, went against his training in that moment, and knew that this is not what we should be doing. I should get moving. And he took 4 of those little guys with him. And I hope when I'm standing at the gates that I can say I had a small part in saving one person's life. And this little 6-year-old boy, he's already done it 4 times. Special education is not addressed. Again, it's not a one-size-fits-all plan. What might be right for you might not be right for me. The fact that I'm wearing an extra 30 pounds of gear and boots and I got short, stubby legs and don't run very fast, evacuating might not be my option, okay? Maybe that, you know, I know that breaking in here, I can pull some wires, cables, and stuff out to barricade. You might choose to evacuate, okay? This is the point of this training is to give everybody options and tell you that even though you're in the same room, you don't have to do the same thing. Some people can evacuate, some people can barricade, some people can try to counter. Okay? That's what we don't want to do is lock everybody into one option. Kind of another K-12 problem is a rally point could be a secondary attack location. For you guys that have kids, kind of help you feel a little bit better, being that it is 8 to 12 minutes before the first police officer shows up. But if MES gets attacked, what agencies are going to be responding? Monmouth, Polk County Sheriff's Office, Independence Police Department, Dallas Police Department. You think Benton County Sheriff's Office is sending people? Yeah, Corvallis PD, Salem PD, Kaiser PD. I bet you Grand Ron's sending somebody. Okay, McMinnville, I bet somebody's coming. Okay, basically from a 60-mile radius, we're going to have cops coming. Okay, granted it's going to be 8 to 12 minutes before they get here, but that's where the schools and the administration, the local police departments are going to work. Once they get enough people on scene at that school, they're going to be able to divert those responding agencies to the rally points to help protect those and assist with the reunification process. If everybody in this building had the same training, you heard 2 loud bangs and you ran as absolutely fast as you can out of this building, how long do you guys think it would take us to completely evacuate this building? Remember, not a fire drill. We are running for our lives. How long do you think it would take to get everybody out of here? A minute? Yeah, about a minute. Okay? People evacuating will disrupt police response. How long did it take that first 911 call to happen? Right? I mean, we're all going to be at Dairy Queen having Sundays by the time the police get here. Okay? So you're not going to disrupt the police response. And that's something that people often, especially the K-12 schools, worry that, well, if we're having kids run everywhere, it's going to disrupt the police response. The police aren't even going to know this is happening when your kids are running away. Okay? Counter strategies don't work. I'll tell you about the training that I was at. It was a 2-day training, and I sat through a day and a half of what you guys are sitting through now. And it made sense. Yeah, okay, sounds good. I like it. And then we did half a day of scenarios where we just did scenarios. And it proved to me that I don't want to hide under the table. I don't want to just wait for the police to show up. We took so in this training there was elementary school teachers, custodians, people from the universities. We had a huge variety of people in there. We took the person with the least amount of tactical experience in the class, which happened to be a Hispanic elementary school teacher. She was about this tall and the sweetest woman you ever met in your life, okay? They gave her an airsoft gun and about a minute of instruction. They said, here's the trigger, this is a dangerous end, this is how you kill people. And they told us, you guys are now doing lockdown, like they had to do in Sandy Hook, like they were told to do in Columbine. You guys are doing lockdown, so you can hide, and that's it. And wait for somebody to come save you. And we all hid best we could in this classroom. And that woman came in, she killed 30 out of 31 of us. One person was hiding in a closet she didn't find. Then we took the top tactically trained guy in the class. He was a commander of the Lane County SWAT team. Okay, a guy that I think we can all agree kind of knows a little bit and has a pretty good idea about tactics and how to shoot people. Okay, they gave him the airsoft gun and then told the rest of the class, okay, now institute Alice. Barricade, run, counter, whatever you need to do. Okay, he came into the classroom, he shot. We all threw objects at him and rushed him. Some people ran out the back door. Some people ran kind of to hide in a closet. And we attacked him. He ended up getting one guy in the arm. Survivable wound. Okay? And then being a SWAT team guy, you know, he goes, oh, hold on. I can do better than that. Like, I can do better than that. We're like, all right, great, let's try it again. So he came in a different door. Kind of threw us off a little bit. Came in a different door a little while later. And he got one guy in the leg. Okay, this is a guy that's trained to be able to do that kind of stuff, and he can't beat it. And the reason is because as we threw objects at him, and they were soft rubber blue balls, okay, that didn't hurt him. He was wearing a mask and a helmet, okay, that he knew weren't going to hurt him. He knew that was all we were going to throw at him. And he got to do it twice, and he still couldn't do it, okay? Because as all those balls are flying at him and people are moving, okay, it causes that OODA loop disruption. He gets stuck between observe and orient, okay? So the top tactically trained guy in the class that went through the class couldn't do this. The instructors from Alice said that they have taken people from the U.S. military special forces and had them go through this program and had them be the shooters and elementary school teachers be the victims in the classroom. And the military special forces guys can't beat the elementary school teachers using this program, throwing things and rushing them, okay, or running. What if the shooter's Alice trained? Again, it doesn't matter. That guy that was in our program, he went through the exact same class we did. He was there the whole time. He knew what we were going to do. He got to practice, and he couldn't do any better. People oftentimes also ask if we can just pull the fire alarm to indicate an evacuation, kind of the alert process. And we don't want to do that because what's a fire alarm? A fire drill. Lining up single file and everybody slowly files out. Okay, that's not what we're looking for. We want everybody to make a decision about what they want to do. As of February 2015, 7 Alice trained facilities have been attacked and no fatalities. So, does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns? He asked about for UCC in Roseburg, what kind of training that school had. And I don't believe they really had anything other than lockdown. I haven't got an official report on that yet, but I haven't heard. Do either one of you guys know? Okay, I haven't heard any kind of official, kind of proactive training like run, hide, fight, get out, hide out, take out, or Alice that they had. I think they just had the standard lockdown like most every school does. So she wants to know if, back here in a slide, we're talking about what the police response is, that they might handcuff you. And she wants to know, why might the police handcuff me? It might be that one of the calls they got was that the shooter is a female, white female with brown hair wearing a tan shirt. Okay? So that's where you need to pay attention. You might not know that they got that report. You might not know that you are dressed just like the shooter. You might not know that somebody mistook you for the shooter. Okay? So that's where we need to pay attention and not resist that with the police, because they don't know. So is it likely? No, it's not, but it's a possibility, and I want to throw it out there so that people are prepared that if they get told to get on the ground, they start getting handcuffed, that the police aren't just handcuffing her. They believe for some reason that you're a threat, and they might not know why at that point. So she wants to know if the local police department is trained on being able to determine if somebody's deaf or not, and how would they know that. I will tell you that the police department knows that we have a large deaf population on our campus, so they do kind of expect that. I will tell you, when I was working on the coast, I did a traffic stop, and I stepped out of my vehicle, and this gentleman got out of his car and started walking back towards me. And that's typically what they used to teach people to do, is get out of the vehicle and walk back towards the officer. We don't want you to do that anymore, stay in your vehicle. So I just pointed at his vehicle and I said, "Sir, have a seat back in your vehicle." And he just kept right walking towards me. And so okay, he's deaf, so I very animated, pointed at his vehicle and I said, "Get back in your vehicle now, I'll be with you in a minute." And he kept walking right towards me and pointed at my nose and said, "I want to talk to you." I'm like, okay, he's not deaf, and it ended up in this big pursuit and all this stuff. But the point of that is that I think just inherently as humans, when we don't get a response like that, some kind of a response, that we'll automatically assume that we're dealing with somebody that's deaf or hard of hearing. Also, the police officers being amped up and being who they are and being type A personalities, they are very animated. So as they're coming in there, if they're telling you to get on the ground, they're going to be motioning. Get down, get on the ground, or go that way, okay? And most people and most police officers, if you do, see, this is deaf, correct? Deaf?
No, from the mouth to the ear.
From the mouth to the ear, okay? So you make a symbol like this and just, "I'm deaf," okay? I mean, most everybody's going to be able to understand what that means. And I believe the police are trained to do that. And our officers right now, we're actually, this is week 2. We're going through several weeks learning some sign language to be able to communicate.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to throw out there is that many deaf people have some automatic training. Oh, they do something like this, like I can't hear. They'll gesture like that. Let it go to the ear and then. It's
perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this not being a threat and pointing at your ear, I mean, I'm going to understand what that means. Officer Hanson, are you going to understand what that means? Even in a really threatening situation, I'm going to understand what that means if I can see your hands and you're pointing at your ear. I'm gonna know what you're trying to tell me. The question is, are we gonna try to have all of our students on campus go through this training as well? We would love for that. We want everybody that we can to go through this training. It's difficult to require everybody to, so that's why we've got, I think all total in this month long, we've got 16 or 18 of these sessions that anybody can come to. We're advertising it to the students. Our officers and our staff are encouraging people to come. Is any of the students in here? We have some of the different departments. I know of, I think, 3 or 4 different departments whose staff have come and said, okay, we want all of our employees to go through this, including the students. So there's a lot of the students that are coming through, and after the class they'll come up and ask me to sign this thing saying that they were here. So there's the different departments that are helping us out doing that. So, and we're hopefully next year going to be able to provide some additional things during New Student Week. But my hope is that eventually I'm going to be out of a job with this, because the K-12 schools are going to do this training and do it properly. And so by the time everybody gets to us, I'm not going to have a job to do. So I'll tell you, I don't know exactly what Dallas, if you have kids in Dallas, what they use, but my understanding is they are ahead of the curve. I guess Dallas School District is kicking butt on this kind of thing. They're very proactive about it. They train with their students. They put baseball bats and things in the classrooms and the teachers' desks to have those easily accessible to the staff. So I'm all kinds of excited about Dallas. I know that Central School District is using a program. It's called SRP. It's Standard Response Protocol. SRP is a good program. It has its merits for several things, but it's all encompassing. So it's fire, earthquake, tornado. It talks about all of those. But it's what I don't like about it is it's very heavily dependent on somebody over a loudspeaker telling everybody what to do. It's somebody getting on an intercom and saying lockdown or evacuate or get under the desks, and I don't like that. I think that everybody needs to be able to make a decision and not have one person in an office. What happens if that one person is sick that day, or maybe the shooter knows that and goes in and takes that person out. So it's kind of an all-encompassing program, but I understand Central School District just recently did a training with their high school students where they had a staff member come to one of these sessions, and they have developed their own PowerPoint now and are training their students and telling them, hey, if this happens, you are not just to hide under your desks. This is what you are supposed to do. You are supposed to run, you are supposed to fight back, you're supposed to do whatever you can to survive. So Central School District's kind of making some real positive changes there. I don't know about any of the other school districts in the area though. He was talking about the police using where people are evacuating from as an indicator of where they need to be going. And if that is going on and when the police are arriving, I think they're certainly going to be using that, or maybe there's just a police officer that's driving by the elementary school and sees a whole bunch of kids running out into the neighborhood. Most police officers are going to realize that there's something bad going on there, and they're going to head over to the school and try and figure out what's going on. So just understand the whole idea of this program is that you don't have to hide under the desk. You can if you want to. But what we are telling you and the university is telling you is that you are welcome to fight back. You're welcome to break a window and run if you want to. Be safe. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming. If you like the program, we certainly hope you do. Encourage people to come. We want to get this information out to as many people as we can. We're not going to be able to get everybody, but we're hopefully going to get as many students as we can. And for you faculty and staff, you're going to be a leader in that classroom, because a lot of these students' training is going to be to get under the desk. And you're going to have to be a leader in there and tell them, no, let's get out, or put desk tables and chairs in front of the door and prevent people from coming in. So I appreciate your time, guys. Thanks for coming.